From his run to the top, including wins over UFC vets like Stephan Bonner, to beating a string of champs like Quinton Jackson and Mauricio Rua, here are all the reasons why Jon Jones is the deadliest fighter that the UFC has ever seen. Starting with his powerful dominance. What stands out about Jon Jones isn't the fact that he defeats fighters so easily, it's the fact that he dominates them. In his early days, Jon established dominance over his opponents. The type of dominance I've only seen from UFC legends like Anderson Silva and Georges St. Pierre. His rivals spend more time trying to figure out how to beat the guy than actually cooking up a worthwhile defense. His power is definitely unmatched. It's pretty unlikely you'll ever watch a fight where Jon isn't in complete control.
Prostitutes? I beat you after a weekend of cocaine.
And prostitutes. Hey, wait.
Jeez.
I thought that first time was the first time you did cocaine. So wait.
In fact, it was in his 10th UFC fight that fans finally saw him get struck. It was in a fight against Lyoto Machida. And how did he respond to that? He shrugged it off like a champ and went on to dominate Lyoto in the very next round. Needless to say, he won that fight. But even when Bones didn't win, he was still able to dominate his ops. When he was in the cage with Rashad Evans, he controlled that fight from start to finish. He neutralized pretty much every one of Rashad's attacks by using a powerful combo of striking and distance. He won that fight via unanimous decision. Jon's become a quick rising star in the MMA world. He is well on his way to becoming a legend of the sport. And it's his ability to look miles ahead of his competition that got him there. What's another reason why he's such a fast rising star? His creativity. Yes, that's right. If you've ever seen a Jon Jones fight, chances are that you've noticed the fact that he uses some pretty inventive techniques. He employed some pretty cool chin strikes against Ryan Bader to loosen his defenses.
It's over, Jon.
It's over.
You came back?
It is over. Yeah, you know what, Joe? I want to take this time to thank Daniel Cormier for being my biggest rival and motivator. Daniel Cormier, guys.
And do you guys remember the jumping shoulder strikes he used against Rashad Evans in the clinch? He is an epic fighter. He's never too afraid to try something new in the octagon. One thing that's common between all great MMA fighters is the fact that they all have the ability to adapt to changes in the game plan on the move. And Jones is no different. His creative skills are beyond ordinary. The moment he steps into the cage, watchers have no idea what to expect from him. There's no telling what bizarre techniques he'll use every time there's a fight. Jones referred to the way he beat up Rashad using a combo of shoulder and elbow strikes as elementary. If that's what he considers elementary, I'm excited to see what else he's got up his sleeve. Though, you know what's better than being a creative fighter? Being a creative fighter with ginormous size.
Hey, to break a record, to become a part of American history in this way, UFC history in this way, I wouldn't want it easy. I would not want it easy. If this stuff was easy.
When you're watching Jon Jones fight, it's pretty obvious to see that his size gives him a huge advantage. I mean, it's not like his size is what makes him dominate his opponents, but it definitely plays a part. At his height of 6 feet 4 inches, he looks more like a basketball player than a fighter. Though it usually isn't enough just to have size on your side, it's the way that he uses his size to help him win fights that makes him so unstoppable. Jon makes it absolutely impossible for anyone to even come near him without getting a firm kick or a jab to the kneecap. Jones has unlocked the secret to winning UFC fights. He understands his range and uses it pretty well to pick apart his opponents limb from limb. In the cage, he's the one who dictates where the fight takes place.
Yeah, Dominic did a tremendous job. Dominic, you have totally earned my respect, man. That was a great foot take. That was a great fight. I tell you what, I think.
Yes, he's powerful, but his strongest suit's that he is clever and he knows where his strengths lie. If Jon moves up the heavyweight division, finding a way to close the gap and neutralize his range advantage, beating him would prove to be an impossible task for most of his opponents. He's not just strong and smart, though. Jones is also pretty versatile. Bones is in his invincible era, and that's mainly because he's just so complete. When most fighters migrate migrate from wrestling to the MMA. They usually have pretty mid-striking skills and rely mainly on their wrestling until they can get the hang of mixed martial arts. Jon Jones, though, is not like most fighters. He has the skill set to emerge victorious no matter where he is. Jon has picked opponents apart on the feet. He's torn them down with his signature ground and pound elbow move. And he's delivered some pretty kick-ass strikes and throws from the clinch. The only place I haven't seen Jon display excellence from is his back, and it could take quite a while before someone can put him in that position. Even Rashad Evans, who trained Jon for years, couldn't find a flaw in his game. It's hard to imagine anyone exploiting his weaknesses in the near future, especially considering he barely has any. But who taught him to be the exceptional fighter that he is today? He's none other than Greg Jackson. Attaining success in MMA depends entirely on having the right game plan and sticking to it. It's true that you have to be pretty good at improvising and adjusting according to where the fight's going, but having a solid game plan is the first step towards earning victory. Luckily for Jones, he was coached by the best coach in the business, Greg Jackson. Greg's one of the best strategists out there. His tips, tricks, and UFC hacks are some of the finest. He's the MMA equivalent of Bill Belichick when it comes to tactics. To put it simply, he's a genius. Greg's instruction manual involves game planning and all strategic things covered in fights. His acumen's a perfect match for Jon. Greg played an important role in the development of Jones from a raw potential prospect to the polished, dynamic champion that he is today.
Unbelievable. And that's just going to be such a challenge in itself. So right now, I'm not going to call out anybody. I'm just going to go home.
When Jones cements himself as the greatest fighter in the history of the UFC, it'll be all thanks to Greg Jackson. Although the coach might have taught him the basic skills, he didn't give Jones the drive to be the best. A lot of folks think Jones is arrogant or way too confident, but either way, he's pretty well aware of the potential he has. When it comes to his legacy, he's not taking any chances. Fans thought he'd get a bit complacent and satisfied with his position once he beat Lyoto Machida and defended his title, but nope, that's just not how Jon works. Instead of backing down, he kept climbing up. He entertained the idea of fighting a top 10 heavyweight to make fans happy. Now, fans would rush to say that this makes him look cocky and arrogant. But hey, the man knows what he can do. This was just one example of the vision that Jones has for his future. Plus, if I'm being honest, every great player's a little arrogant. That just adds to their charm. That's what drives them to be the dominant athletes that they are. One of the greatest athletes of all time, Michael Jordan, was known to be disrespectful at times. And yet, he went on to win 6 NBA titles and a bunch of personal accolades on his way to the top of the NBA. Jon has admitted to believing his own hype at times while he was talking about his fight with Evans on the program Sports Night, but he also said that he's working to make his hype come true. Well, some might consider him overconfident or self-important, but one thing's for sure, the dude's a literal menace and will be until he retires. Well, that's everything about why Jon Jones is the deadliest fighter.